So, thanks everyone for making the time. I know this is Hong Kong and most of you probably have like a very busy and hectic day, so I appreciate you making the time today. My name is Alessandro. I'm an entrepreneur from Italy, but I've been based in Hong Kong and Indonesia for the past 7-8 years. I'm the founder of Procope, which is a social enterprise I founded 4 years ago. And I just want to thank Dorothy and Marco from Dream Impact, and also Mikey from Future House to having me here today. So today we're here to talk about business that are community driven and how having a community plug into your business can help you to achieve higher profitability in competitive markets. And I'll be guiding you through the business model that I built and then the full framework that I've been following for my own company. So as the case study today that I've been going through, I'll be using my own company as that's what I've been doing for the past 3 to 4 years. So I have a good news and a bad news. The good news is that I'll be sharing the step-by-step, exactly how I've done it, from building like a business model, building a brand, testing a community, and then executing. And I'll be sharing with you the exact framework, which is the things that I wish I had 4 years ago to guide me through basically all this period. The bad news is like I also don't believe the framework applies to every single case. So I invite you to take the good part of it, make it yours, plug into your own journey, and then enjoy your own journey. Because again, I like to share a lot of framework, as you will see, but I don't think that one formula fits all. So I like to share framework as sort of inspiration, but then don't think that if your business or community is not working exactly this way, that you're doing something wrong. Because I don't think that's the way things run. Today's agenda, we'll briefly share how everything started. We're gonna spend some time on why it makes sense to have a community plug into your business. We're gonna build on how, so the way I built it, and again share a framework, and then we're gonna do some recap and Q&A. So how did I start it? And as usual, everything always starts with a problem. So 3 years, and let's say 4 years ago, when I founded my own company Procope, we started selling branding and marketing services. So we were helping our clients based in US, Hong Kong, Europe, to come up with their names, their logo, their font, their color, their UI, UX, their website, their campaigns, and so on. And I'm sure that at this point, your reactions are, this is not the first marketing agency you came across. There are many. Nowadays, like the number it's growing and growing. And as I was sort of starting my business, start selling these services, I had to ask myself the tough question of how can I differentiate? Because sooner or later, if you run whatever projects, this is a question that you need to ask yourself. And if you cannot answer this question relatively soon, your business is gonna die sooner. So on that moment, I decided that my differentiation factor was going to be impact and community. And this is what sort of started the journey of like dividing our company into 2 core areas. One has always been like an agency. So we still sell services to our clients. Right now we're focusing on social enterprises, small, medium enterprises, as well as NGO, and still delivering our branding, design, digital marketing services. And this is like a very standard business model, like an agency selling services. The twist happened here, where 10% roughly of the revenues we make, we use it to found the Procope Academy, which is the community part of the business. And it's a community of remote professionals that are volunteering their time to teach students in Southeast Asia skills like entrepreneurship, branding, design, digital marketing, basically all the things we do for the agency. These volunteers are within the industries and they're willing to dedicate 2 or 3 days of their time to basically attend offline workshop with local high schools. Right now, mostly we are in Indonesia and Bali, and share their skills with the local high school students, with the idea that they'll be sort of enriching their traveling experience while doing so. To give a bit more context on also the examples I'll be talking through it, this is the ecosystem that we built, where the agency, again, very boring, very standard business model, but it pays the bill, founds the academy. And the academy is a community of remote professionals in Hong Kong, Southeast Asia, that is currently growing quite rapidly. And we basically, our effort is to find this remote professional and put them in contact with a high school in Southeast Asia. Whenever we have a match, we help them to organize like a 2-3 days workshop at the school, where this remote professional can teach their area of expertise. So again, entrepreneurship, marketing, design, UI, UX, web development, and so on, to the students, giving the students the possibility to learn a new topic. So we don't expect the students to become fluent in the area of expertise, but it's sort of like a small nudge that we give to the student, tell them this job exists, there are careers, you could get paid doing so. And then here's some photos from our actual activities, so you know it's not a scam. And this is basically some different workshops we done throughout the past 2 to 3 years.
Did you ask the local government for subsidies
or no.
Any additional fund you could get?
Not right now. No. We've been in some conversation with some parties, but right now we're focusing on very small goals. Later on, I'll get to that. But I found like those processes would like sort of take us away in this early stage of growth. So we just want to try to focus on smaller things, and then so the students and the schools don't pay anything. It's free. So before we jump on to how to build a community-driven business, I would like to spend some time in asking why you should do it. Which it makes sense now, but as I was starting to building it, and it was taking a lot of time, effort, and resources, I was sort of doubting myself why I should do all this, why I should go through all these troubles. So, and I sort of came up with 5 reasons, and as a matter of fact, I discovered this reason while doing it. So it's not something that I figured out before, like I started doing it, and I was like, oh, this is happening, and this is good. So go quickly through it right now, and then we'll get to each of one in details. So you do good and feel good. Your competitors cannot copy your community. Access to talents, community support, and storytelling and marketing opportunities. I'll go through each of them. Creating or being part of a community, contributing with knowledge, giving back, it's something that personally I feel good about. This is also something a bit more of my personal philosophy, but I do think that after a certain level of income and security, the only things that give us more contentment is sharing back. So finding ways to giving back. To me, like once I have a house, steady income, increasing that income exponentially, it's not going to change much. I already kind of have what I need. So the first reason is like it's something that I feel good about it, and people who join our community feel good about as well. Number 2, very important, especially in nowadays, whenever there's a very competitive market, something I always emphasize as a competitive advantage is community. Because if you think about your competitors, whatever business you run, they can copy your product and service. They can copy your websites. They can copy your marketing strategy, content strategy, sales strategy, whatever you want. But they cannot copy your community, because they cannot just like copy and paste like a group of people that are being loyal to you. So this is something that right now more and more companies are putting effort into community for this specific reason, because it's something that it does take time in the long term, but competitors cannot quickly replicate.
And I'm a complete newbie with community.
Please.
So
Like, for example, probably one that everyone knows is like Apple. You know, the Apple support community. They build a community of users. So these are sort of people that they do not necessarily get paid to share feedback with other users. So basically, you ask someone something in the Apple support community. Sometimes it's people from Apple, but some other times it's just other user. So they've been fostering this community to also like decrease the cost of customer support, where people can sort of like reply to your answers and so on and so on. But right now, like more and more companies are sort of putting effort into this kind of initiative. Or like maybe you guys know Salesforce. It's like a CRM. They have a community called Trailblazer, and they do events. They have support from the community. They exchange information, and you can, as a Salesforce user, you can become part of the community, contribute, organize your own local events, involve other people, and they've been doing this in multiple cities. So from very small companies to bigger companies, that this is something that is getting more relevant, because once people, for example, enter the Salesforce community, they have very low chance to switch to other competitors, and they have very high chance to keep talking about Salesforce, keep referring Salesforce to their peers. So we've been seeing community happening in both companies that started as for-profit companies and they're trying to plug in the community side, and other like smaller companies, I would say like mine, that we start pretty much from the start with both the community and the business side. Then the third reason is access to talents. And the reason here is the volunteers that I've been meeting through our initiative. I realized that they have three main characteristics. The first one is like they're good at time management, because otherwise they will not find the time to volunteer. These are all very independent and very good at managing their time kind of people. They're highly skilled, because like if they feel like they want to contribute in a certain area, they should have some sort of expertise. Like I'm not going to contribute in a community about digital marketing if I don't feel I'm some sort of expert in the field. So most of the people we've been meeting, they're very highly specialized into one specific field, and they're experts in their field. And they're also very kind and easy to work with, because otherwise they will not be volunteering in the first place. So it's like has been attracting this sort of crowd that has been amazingly helpful for all other reasons that we'll see later on. Access to talents has been very important as part of a community. Community support, and to me, even the smallest community can support you both personally and professionally. I would like to share like a very recent story where on the agency side, we were running a project for a large client in Hong Kong. It took us 3 months to prepare the quotation. It took me 2 months to put together the team to build the kind of website technology that they wanted. Everything was ready to go, and then the client changed their mind. And they were like, we cannot use this set of technology anymore. This is how we need to build the website. This is how it needs to be hosted with the specific technology, with the specific resources. And they were like, if you still want to continue the project, you have 4 days to basically rearrange the team. If not, we'll find something else. And so I was pretty desperate. And I just dropped a message in our community group. And over the weekend, I got basically 8 profiles of people that could solve that specific task. And then I pretty much picked one, and now we've been working together since. So the support of the community and this referral to some talents came from people I met through the academy. So very important. And then storytelling and marketing opportunities. And here my idea is like the main notion is like in business, focusing on the impact you're making is a winning strategy compared to just talking about the services you're selling. So I realized this very early stage, also thinking about my own communication. Whenever I was talking about the services we were giving to the agency, no much response. But whenever I was talking about the initiatives that we're going to do with our community, with our school partners, and with our network, the engagement was much higher. And through this, I was sort of able to start a lot of very useful connections and expand my network. And right now, all the clients from the agency, they all come from referral through the community side. So these are sort of community members or people that know our community members that basically refer to our agency. And now we're going to jump into the how. So basically, what is the framework that I've been following to implement this community?
Should we save the questions for later? Or?
If someone has any question, feel free to jump in anytime.
When you say the community members, are those the volunteers that gave you the referral to potential projects? So you said that most came from members' referrals.
Yeah, so basically on our community side, we have all these remote professionals, and most of them are entrepreneur, designer, marketer. And just by opening conversation with them, a lot of them, they refer us to new clients, or we work together with them on basically new projects. And in general, I would say also when I meet new people, go to events, usually if I talk about the services we sell at the agency, nobody cares. Like that's because that's what everyone else does. But whenever I talk about the academy we'll be building, people get very interested. And then eventually, later on, long term, whenever they need some marketing service, they also remember that we have this part of the business as well. So right now, everything's pretty much going to the academy, whether it's through members or whether to people I met, to bring business also into the agency. Any other question, guys? Perfect. So I'll get to the how. So here we have another framework. Again, this is the order in which things has been happening for me. By no means this is the correct order. If you're building a project, you're building a business, I invite you to experiment and see which one makes sense in the short term. Number one, business model and goal setting. This is usually the first one, but then for the other ones, it's a bit of a mix and match. Developing a brand, testing the community, and then the community strategy. We're gonna jump to the first one. So here it's sort of the model that I've been building at first, that I then try to follow in doing all the other executions. Where on one side we have the core business. So this is your business selling service or products, so service 1, 2, 3. And then you have the main stakeholders, which client type 1, client type 2, basically your target audience. Then here you have revenues, so basically clients paying you for your services. And then you reuse part of the revenues to build the community. Your community will then have different activities, 1, 2, 3, depending on what the scope of your business is. You're going to have some community members, and then you're going to have some community partners and sponsor. Then some key points that I've been noticing by building this business model. By running community activities, your business is going to get some brand awareness through it. So without you talking about the service you do, just by running this, you're going to get in contact with potential customers. If, of course, the business is somehow aligned with the community. Then the other things that I notice is like sometimes your clients can become the sponsors of these initiatives. In my specific case, some of our clients that have been working with us in the long term, they became sort of active sponsor. So a lot of the workshop we've been running in Indonesia, they've been sponsored by some of our clients. And then some on the community side, once it starts sort of growing and scaling, you can consider also trying to have some sponsors only for the community and then generate some revenues. And to give a bit more context to this, I would like just to show you how this looks for my own company and case studies, where we have, again, the core business, brand development, marketing, UI UX, web, community building. We have our main clients, so we work with social enterprises, small, medium enterprises, NGOs. These clients pay us most of the time, and we use part of this revenue to organize all the community activities, which for us happens in the form of workshop where remote professionals, parts of our community, volunteers with local high schools. We organize also field trips for students to visit local businesses, and then now we're also launching some internship program. And a few things that's been happening For us, the first thing is like the remote professional part of our community. This has sort of been helping me also to execute other projects onto the actual service of the agency. The local high school in Southeast Asia, they're also now letting us hire some of the students as intern on the agency side. And then basically some clients have become sponsor, and then some sponsor basically have been, we've been able to monetize their contribution to the academy. First part of the framework, so the business model and goal settings. In terms of goals, pretty straightforward. You want to have some goals for both your business and your community. You have a question?
Yeah, you just said that some of the clients would become a sponsor.
Yes.
So what usually motivates them to become a sponsor? What's sort of the partnership?
So we have two ways. One is clients that are already working with us, and because 10% of what they pay us, we use it for the academy, then we advertise them as sponsor. So whenever we do the workshop in the schools, we put up some banner with the logos, and then we send this material to our clients, and they can use this material as part of their sort of CSR strategy.
So just by using you as an agency, 10% of revenue.
But right now we also have like a second way of partnering and sort of building sponsorship, which is through internship program. So whenever we do this workshop with the students in Indonesia, we always select the top 4 or 5 students. And these students are extremely smart. Like they put together some business plan in 3 days, which was much better than what I was doing when I was in uni here in Hong Kong. And right now we're selecting those talents, and we give companies the chance to hire some of them. And so we act as a sort of HR. And the company pay us like a one-off fee for us to give them 6 or 7 talents. If they find a one that they want to hire, they move forward. If not, we basically give them the money back. So there's like those 2 waves of how we've been in partnership with the stakeholders.
Another quick question
Sure.
regarding the remote professionals and local high schools in particular. So for instance, like how you recruit them, what criteria you look for in them, and how you build rapport with them. Because obviously, there may be plenty of choices. Among all these people, you probably won't be cooperating with like all of them, and they may be like skeptical, maybe like they wonder who you are in the first place. So I wonder how this process goes.
So basically how we find remote professionals, right?
Yeah, and also like high schools and how you build a relationship with them.
So for remote professionals, right now everything has been happening through word of mouth. And our sort of selection criteria is like they must be within our area of expertise. So I want to make sure that we can evaluate them. So there needs to be either entrepreneur, digital marketer, designers, brand designer, community builder. And whenever they reach out to us, we ask them to send us like their LinkedIn or portfolio or websites, and then we're trying to evaluate through that whether we think they will be capable of running like a couple-day workshop. And as for the schools, so this was very tough at first, but we managed, like a friend of mine that was helping me, he basically built like a database with all the schools in Indonesia, and then has been going through. So then we start reaching out to them via email, and obviously no replies. Imagine some local school in Indonesia getting some messages of people from Hong Kong and Italy, why they would bother to reply us. So this friend of mine, which was part of the early team, then switched the approach and just went to the websites of all the schools, looked for the schools that had some photos of the staff, and then he looked for basically computer teachers or informatic teachers, because in his mind this was usually the more open-minded into technology and new things. And then he found some of these teachers on Facebook. He added them, started a conversation. Then we got our first school in Bali, but I had no credit in this. It was all done by a good friend of mine that had this sort of clever idea. But after that, basically, teachers from the schools we already had, we just asked them, hey, do you know a school in this area? And then they passed us the contact. And once we got the first one, that was relatively easier to find others. Any other question, guys? So then you have these 2 areas. You have your business, you have your community. and you want to make sure you have some SMART goals that needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. Some example of our actually own goal for this year, where for the core business, they wanted to be specific to acquire new clients, measurable, 15 new clients, attainable, so it has to be sort of realistic. So last year we got 8, 15 is achievable. Relevant, it is relevant as will help us to amplify our impact to the community, time-bounded, 1 year. And then the same things for the community, organize more workshops. How many? 20 workshops this year. It's relevant for us and our team because we believe that we're making an impact by achieving this goal, and time-bounded, I guess, 1 full year. Just to give you an example of, it's good to have some macro goal that you know you'll be chasing throughout the year. Then the step number 2 for me personally was brand development, and I just want to show you the way we build our own brand. But first, like, why do you need a brand? Of course, you heard this many times. If you have a strong brand, people will remember about you, they will recall your name, they will recall your logo, which this is true. But what I've been noticing by building brands for our clients is like you make your idea concrete. So once a company hire us to build a brand, their business goes from just an idea to something that they can see and sort of touch and share. And this sort of, it's a big step from the planning ideation phase to actually start executing activities. So yes, branding does help for you, for your customer to remember you, but it also gives a big push usually to the entrepreneur behind to move things to the next step. Okay, how do we build our brand? So first things I always suggest is start with your brand purpose. It doesn't have to be perfectly written. You just have to summarize basically the why and the what are you doing. So for us was enable businesses and individuals to experience progress by providing human-centered digital marketing and branding strategy and also knowledge. So again, it's not perfect, but it tells what we do. So we provide marketing services and knowledge to students, and why we do it is like because we both believe that we both feel strongly about enable businesses and individuals to experience growth and do sort of like move things to the next step. And then basically once you have your brand purpose, I always suggest people to trying to circle some keywords out of it. Enable, experience progress, human-centered, digital. And from these keywords, you can sort of trying to start build your own name and your own design. When it gets to naming, so we like one of the keywords of progress and growth. So we like the word prokope, which is a Greek word that Stoic philosopher used to use to basically imply progress or improvement towards wisdom. So we like the word, we like the name, we ran some surveys, most of the people liked it, so we've been sticking to this. And then the same things can happen visually. So you still have your keyword, enable, digital, progress, human-centered, and then we're sort of trying to find some images that really resonate with that. So we like the enable idea of turning on and off. The progress growth, so these big shapes. The digital, so something that moves. And then human-centered, just like, again, large shapes that can resemble some simple icon of a person. And then once you have, we call this a mood board with using your own main keywords, then we jump onto the design phase. This idea of a logo that turn on and off. Human-centered, these shapes could sort of resemble something like a person. And then, of course, we develop some colors, some fonts, different type of logos, and different application of how the brand could look like. Again, this was like a very simplified version of the process, but this took us maybe 3 to 4 months, running also a lot of surveys, a lot of testing. But this is sort of like the step that once it was done, I felt like I was ready to play with. Before it was just like an idea that I was telling people, but I didn't know what to share with them, when to share it. But now I sort of have some materials to play with And this gave me like a big push into start chasing basically the next step of executing. Then the testing phase. You want to test the idea for your community. You want to check how the word of mouth, and then also evaluate the stakeholders' response. So once you have your business model done, you have built your brand, this is when you want to test your community ideas. So in a second, I'll explain why these photos, but the first thing to say is like, when the time feels right to you, trying to test on a very small scale. Test your community idea on the smallest scale possible. So if it goes wrong, nothing happens. And then collect feedback from people that join the initiative. So in my case, testing the community meant running the very first workshop. So finding a school, go there, trying to teach some knowledge about digital marketing, and then see what were the response from the teachers, from the students, and from other people, potential volunteers, potential community members. And for me, the right moment was here. I was traveling in Indonesia for a month, mostly for surfing. That was my main reason for me being there. And then one day I dislocated my shoulder. So all of a sudden I was stuck in this small village and I couldn't do anything. I didn't know what to do. I was stuck there. And I had in the back of my mind this idea of testing our first workshop. Because when I was there, I felt like my traveling was pointless now. I could not surf anymore. I was injured. There's nothing I could do. So I felt like this would be the right moment to see whether this sort of initiative could add some deeper layer of meaning to my traveling and then to the traveling of other people. So this to me was the perfect moment to test it out. And it worked decently. We got some footage done that I was able then to share with other people, explain what we were doing, and then start getting some traction and new volunteers to join. Then in the testing phase, something very important is the word of mouth. And I always say the unsolicited word of mouth is one of the key indicators on whether you're on the right path. So if you're doing something and people genuinely share with other people about it, it means you're doing something good. Very basic example, later on we found some volunteers that run their own workshops, and without me or our team asking for anything, they were already talking about it on their social media. And to this we were able to get more volunteers. So this to me applies of course on community level, but also on business. If you need to invest a lot of money to get people to talk about what you're doing, then maybe you might need to tweak your product or service. And then still in the testing phase, the stakeholder response. So how early team recruitment, basically see how hard or easy it is to recruit people early stage. Consider that probably you can pay them very, very little. So if you have a good initiative, you're starting, you probably can pay people very, very little, but you want to see how much people are still interested, no matter how little the reward is. Then partners and sponsor, how engage and any long-term retention, in this case for our clients, after joining this sort of ecosystem, becoming sponsor, how they were interested into staying with us long-term. And then schools and volunteers, how actively, this again, word of mouth, how actively do they promote your community without you having to always ask them for new referrals or new promotion. And in the last part, we're going to jump into the actual community strategy. So how we've been trying to identify who our volunteers should be, and then basically the action plan that we've been following. I'll go through two sub-steps. One is what we call the social identity cycle, and the step number 2 is the action plan. So in terms of social identity cycle, here is where we had to understand how can we speak with our volunteers. So remote professionals are traveling and they have knowledge in entrepreneurship, design, digital marketing, and so on. So how can the right people resonate with our community? How can they know whether this is a good community for them to join? The first question you need to ask yourself, it's about the identity. How can someone know whether they'll fit into your community? And in our case, was like a simple statement. You have to be a remote professional with skill in either, again, entrepreneurship, branding, marketing, design, and so on and so on. If you fit into this, then you're sort of eligible to join our community. And this identity sort of aspect and question is something that needs to be reflected into the onboarding process. So when a new member reaches out to you, what is the process that you go through to communicate with them whether they'll fit or not in your community? So this is very important. Ask yourself, who are your community members, and then how can you communicate with them whether they'll fit or not? Because if not, they will need to understand it right away, so not to waste time on both ends. Second part, once you have identified who your people are, you want them to participate with whatever community you're building. And when it gets to this, I always suggest to start very, very small. So ask these people to maybe join your WhatsApp group or sign up on your newsletter or follow us on social media. So very small actions to get them sort of the first foot in the door. Then later on, you'll be able to ask them to volunteer in one of our workshops or host an events or be more active, helping us to expand some certain area of our community. But if I start asking people directly, do you want to host an events, people will be, this is too much. I'm not as involved yet. And they drop out. So this is very, very important. Start as small as possible. And then the validation part. So once people have joined, you need to make sure you recognize their effort. Because it's very easy for people to join. It's also easy that you forget to sort of remember the impact they've been having in some certain activities. So you want to recognize their impact publicly through newsletter, WhatsApp group, and so on. And then if possible, trying to find ways to reward them. Not necessarily in a monetary way. We realized that with volunteer, giving them anything that has sort of like a price tag on it was not working, was having like an opposite effect to turn them down. So maybe rewards them with like more leadership opportunities within the community. And then the cycle go on. So you want to identify, make them join, make sure they feel like you recognize their effort and impact, and then basically keep going. I'll mention it later on. Then the step number 2 is the action plan, where, here we talk about all sort of onboarding, getting new members, having them join, recognize them. But you want to have something that is a bit more structured, because otherwise it's everything a bit all over the place. So I want to introduce the weekly, monthly, and annually framework that's going to help us to create some structure among all the community activities that we run. Because the key problems with community, probably Dorothy and Marco knows very well, there's always so many things to do. You need to recruit new members. You need to keep the existing member engaged. You need to activate the members that have been silent. You have events you need to manage. You have sponsors you need to manage, partnership. And then you want to make sure that all these people that you involve feel like you recognize their effort. So sometimes it can be quite overwhelming. So that's why I've been trying to come out with some sort of framework where you have these main areas, which of course has to be tailored to your own community. So first things, you brainstorm different areas. For me, it's member recruitment, engagement, events, sponsorship, partnership, and recognition. Then you divide by weekly, monthly, and yearly activities. And then start brainstorming what are some tasks that you could do on a weekly basis. So this could be very small things, like for example, checking in on the WhatsApp groups or sending out a message on some members that have not been engaging or they're not been responding. Monthly activities could be slightly bigger tasks, organize like a meetup or create like a report of your impact in the past 2 months. And yearly activities could be like a larger, maybe offline meetups or like a 12 months report of everything that's been achieved. So you have your area, you have your division between weekly, monthly, and yearly. And then basically this is some example of how this looks for us. So member recruitment, send some messages on social media or WhatsApp, post some stories. So very, very easy and quick tasks that can be done on a daily basis. Member engagement, respond to the messages, share reminders about events, sponsorship, reach out to at least 2 or 3 new sponsors, partnership, and recognize with the feedback. And we do the same for weekly, monthly, and yearly. When you look at the yearly tasks, these are basically larger, like maybe like yearly campaigns to recruit, to launch some, basically create like produce a video, advertise it, trying to get new members, or create like a report where we explain the contribution of each single members and the impact that they have achieved. So you have all these ideas for weekly, daily task, monthly, and yearly, and you want to make sure you label them with 1 and then the sub numbers 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, because then what I always suggest our clients to do is to build some sort of planning, which doesn't have to be followed perfectly, but it helps to know, okay, in week 1, in terms of member recruitments, I'm going to focus on 1.1. In week 2, I'm going to do the activity number 2, week 3, number 3, and then for week, I'm going to go back to the first one. Member engagements, maybe it's something less relevant than the recruitments. So I'm going to only focusing on week 1 and 2, doing this and these specific activities, and so on for all the different activities. So if you have a team working on it, they know they're guided in what they have to do. Because otherwise, again, when these are all the things you need to take care of, it's very hard to be jumping around and be missing pieces. So it's important to have some sort of framework. And this is how, for example, a weekly plan for a specific month could work. This is how a plan for a specific month, in terms of the monthly activities, we're only going to cover member recruitment, sponsorship, and recognition feedback in this specific month. And then some sample of yearly plan. So what are the main, basically big activities that we need to run? And also full disclosure, this is the model we're trying to achieve. Also in our own community right now, resources are quite limited. So I wish we would be able to execute on all this, but this is something that is more like a work in progress. And hopefully in 2025 we'll have one person just for community, and then we'll be able to fully execute. But this is what I teach our clients to do whenever they have like a dedicated community person. So final recap, we've been through business model, brand development, testing, and community. Business model and goal setting. So basically you want to map out how your business is going to look like, how the core business is going to impact the community, and how the community is going to impact the core business. Setting your SMART goals on both core business and community. Brand development, start with your own brand purpose. Sketch it out, write it out, so then you know where you're going and what are the main keywords that then you want to turn into your own brand. Testing phase, trying to get a feeling of how people react to your community effort. So how easy it is, again, to recruit team members, even though you cannot probably pay them very well. If people still want to join you anyway, that's good. That's a very good sign that you're onto something. Partners and sponsor, how engage and what is the long-term retention with them. In my case, specific case was like clients that they were happy to stay with us because they knew that part of basically the service they were using from us, part of the money were going to the community side. And then school and volunteers, how well the word of mouth is doing. So how well do the volunteers and the schools promote your initiative to other people. And then lastly, the community strategy, so the social identity cycle, and then the action plan. This to identify who your people are, and this basically to put into a framework that potentially can give to like a team members and ask them to execute on that. And then again, like a sample for create like a more structured way to go. Then also full disclosure, I wish all this sort of content information were all by me, but unfortunately they are not. So here I put all the books where I got most of the inspiration. First 2 books about most entrepreneurship. This was the main one about community. Very, very good book. This one is more about like growth mindsets and meditation. It's a book about stoicism, which inspired a lot of things behind our brand. And then the last book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'd say the title sounds a bit scammy, like kind of easy way to get rich, but there's a lot of insights, and it's a very practical book. So this is pretty much where I got most of the knowledge that I used to compile today's presentation. Now we can have some Q&A, and thank you very much.